coming in. That is, Abhijit Dipke, as one would expect, the CJP, the protesters there at Jantar Mantar celebrating at the moment. I believe we have Priyanka Chaturvedi on the phone line with us. Also joining us live is Managing Editor Zakar Jacob. Zakar, I'll come to you. Let me first take one quick question from Priyanka Chaturvedi. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us on Times Now. How will you react, ma'am? Big news coming in. Dharmendra Pradhan resigns.
Expectation of the lakhs and lakhs of students who felt cheated with every single examination that was getting leaked, and they were suffering the consequences of it. And that is why they were forced to come and protest. I'm glad that the government realized the anger of the students and realized that they couldn't continue to defend someone like a Dharmendra Pradhan, who is looked at as a symbol of corruption and mismanagement of the entire education system, which was actually jeopardizing the entire future of the generation. So I welcome it. And I'm hoping after this resignation, there would also be the reforms that the Prime Minister has promised to the people of the country. And we will see an education system which is free, fair, accountable, and just.
Right, but the entire opposition, ma'am, had put their foot down, saying that there will be no dialogue, no debate, no discussion till this resignation happens. Now that the resignation has happened, will we see a dialogue? Will we see a debate in the parliament?
No, absolutely. Considering that this was the main demand of the students, and we were only amplifying that demand, and we put the pressure on the government that till you don't follow the demands of what the students want, understand the sentiments on ground, you will have to. So probably we will also rethink about whatever's happened, and we will all join the conversation in the parliament.
So opposition ready to join the conversation in the parliament. That is the big takeaway from our conversation with Priyanka Chaturvedi. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us on the phone line. Zakar Jacob live with us. Zakar, if I could come to you, the biggest news break of the day, broken first on Times Now. Dharmendra Pradhan resigns.
Absolutely. I think it's huge. This is the first time in the last 12 years of the Modi government that you have a minister resigning under public pressure, and that too this quickly. You remember, the Chalo Sansad March happened on the 20th, which was Monday, and before the end of the week, so much was the pressure on the government that the Minister for Education had to resign. Remember, the CJP, the protesting students, had various demands. They had demands about the compensation. They had demands about, no FIRs against the students. But the central thing where the talks seemingly had broken down, the one single point agenda where the talks had broken down and the deadlock happened was on Pradhan's resignation. And I think it was clear after yesterday's round of talks between JP Nadda, Jitendra Singh, and Ashutosh Ranka and Saurav Das that they have to go, that Pradhan has to go. That is the only single point thing that will take the students away from Jantar Mantar. And you saw the Prime Minister's message over the last couple of days on Instagram, day before yesterday night and also yesterday night. I think he understood what was the mood of Gen Z, what was the mood of the protesting students. And this is the only visible concession, the only visible win that the government could have given to the protesting students. Now the government will be hoping that now that Mr. Pradhan has resigned, and we have shown that two-page resignation letter where in the final paragraph he has said that he is stepping down. I think this is a good decision. I think the government, particularly at the highest level, realized that Mr. Pradhan had become a lightning rod. Political accountability needed to be fixed, and it begins from the top, and that the education minister needed to go. This, I think, hopefully will lead to the students to say that, okay, we've achieved what our objective was, and hopefully many of those protesting students will now go back home. But I think finally good sense has prevailed. The government had taken a series of steps, including, reforming the NTA, sacking a lot of officials in the NTA, setting up fast-track courts. But none of that was having any kind of resonance with these children, with these protesting students. The only thing that they wanted, and this was their single point demand that was sticking up, and that was Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation. Now that Mr. Pradhan has resigned, I think this sends a good signal, at least to the protesting students. I believe there's a live feed that's coming of Abhijit Dipke and the other, CJP protesters who are out there at Jantar Mantar. Hopefully there will be a sort of a celebration, I think, or at least it will seem like a bit of a festivity going on there. So hopefully this will lead to the students and the CJP to ask the students to go back to their homes and to their colleges and dormitories, etc. And finally, we can have life back to normal, as it were.
Well, absolutely, and that is the hope which everyone has. We also are being joined live by Madhav and Pragya. Zaka, to stay with us, Madhav, if I could come to you, the visuals which are coming in from the ground, from Jantar Mantar, the mood celebratory there. What do you see happening next? Will it be the end of the deadlock, the end of the protest, the end of this impasse? Because opposition leaders who we are speaking to, while they may say that the resignation has come a little later in the day, they say now they are ready for a debate on the floor of the House as well.
Absolutely. And in fact, what a week it's been, because one really couldn't have imagined at the beginning of this week that this would be how the week really ends. The massive protests, the huge kind of violence we've seen on the streets of the national capital, and, that only spurring more and more protests. Clearly, the government had decided, and remember the highest levels of the government, we've not seen this kind of a situation where the Prime Minister himself has put out 2 videos in the course of 48 hours. And that's exactly what happened. As Zaka was just telling us, the Higher Education Secretary moved the very day that the Prime Minister announced fast-track courts. That very evening, those courts are notified in Raz Avenue. And of course, the cabinet also passing their draft new law, which makes it very stringent as far as paper leaks are concerned in terms of drastically increasing the punishment. And Parliament will be taking up that particular bill as well. But certainly, as far as the rounds of negotiations were going on, with Sonam Wangchuk having ended his fast, the government would have hoped that that would have impacted on the protesters. But the protesters dug in their heels. They said that this is not something they are going to accept. Nothing short of accountability at the highest level of the Education Ministry, which is Dharmendra Pradhan, and his resignation would be acceptable to them. And the government, with multiple rounds of negotiations, has finally decided that it would be prudent, because remember that if all of these students continue to be there at Jantar Mantar, one is, of course, when Parliament is in session, there are very obvious logistical and security hurdles that authorities will have to contend with. They certainly did not want that to continue. And as long as the kind of memes, the kind of messaging that comes out of these various protests is concerned, that also at some level is going to damage the government. And certainly they found it prudent that at this point of time, although there was no urgency, given that Sonam Wangchuk himself has ended his fast, from that perspective, of course, there was an urgency starting off earlier this week. But yet the government has perhaps at the highest levels decided that it is a prudent step for Dharmendra Pradhan to resign. Of course, the formalities have not been completed. Any such resignation of a minister will have to be finally accepted by the president. And that formal announcement has not yet happened at this point of time. But a huge step with Dharmendra Pradhan having, in fact, put in that 2-page resignation letter. Certainly, of course, all eyes on the impact of all of this politically. What will the fallout be? And does this mean that all the protests that we've been seeing for the last several days are now going to come to an end?
Well, we'll have to wait and watch, but the mood on the ground certainly is. I can see the visuals live on the screen as well at Jantar Mantar, celebratory. We'll be getting one of our reporters live from Jantar Mantar as well, talking to those protesters. Meanwhile, Pragya continues to be live with us. Pragya, we are going through that letter which has been put out by Dharmendra Pradhan. Some pointers which, I was reading. Pradhan goes on to say certainty over chaos needed, solution over slogan, responsibility over disruption, talking about the youth protest in his resignation letter. So it's very obvious that Dharmendra Pradhan, the government recognizing the Gen Z, the youth anger, and obviously Pradhan tendering that resignation right ahead of, right as the weekend also approaches, because we were expecting a massive protest, perhaps the crowds also to swell further.
Absolutely, Meenakshi. And if you see the letter, he started off with by saying that Mere Priya Yuva Sathiyo. In fact, he's also addressing the youth of the country, and he also knows that he is resigning because of the pressure mounted by the youngsters of the country. But having said that, he also has a cautious words in the letter where he says that I do not want external forces to misuse our youth and to misdirect and misguide them. I have seen what is happening at Jantar Mantar, and I believe that there is a situation where all these anti-Bharat and the country forces, they are trying to take benefit of that, and this is exactly the reason why I want to give the resignation to the Prime Minister. He said that I have already done that. I have been very grateful for the Prime Minister for his Margdarshan and the confidence that he has shown in him, and also that he will continue to serve Odisha, he will continue to serve Bharat Mata. But most importantly, he has also a word for the youngsters, saying that you do not please waste your time in legal complexities. Please be focused on your studies, on your career. This is the most
important.
That is
the message coming in from Pradhan as he resigns, and obviously that message we are also highlighting on our screens as well. A. Sarvanan of the DMK on the phone line with us. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for joining us on Times Now. What will you say, sir? How will you react? Big news coming in. Dharmendra Pradhan has tendered his resignation. He has resigned. Does it mean the end of the deadlock, the end of the impasse, and now will we see dialogue and not disruption in the Parliament?
See, this is a great victory for the students' movement. the students demanded. One of their demands is resignation of Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, and the government has met the demand. There are other demands. It's not just a single agenda-driven protest. There are other agendas. So I don't think it's going to stop the deadlock. This is the first step forward by the government. We'll have to wait and see how this pans out and whether the government is serious in its intent to curb this NEET paper leak, especially from DMK. We want NEET to be abolished. We are not just bothered about the NEET paper leak alone. That is the bigger thing. And in the state of Tamil Nadu, we are here protesting. The students here are protesting against NEET itself. We are saying NEET itself is a scam, not just a paper leak. So we'll have to wait and see how this is going to pan out. But this is the first step. We'll see how this is going to go down with the protesting students.
Well, yes, we'll have to wait and watch. But going by the visuals, the mood, as I said earlier as well, on the ground celebratory. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Zaka Jacob, our managing editor, continues to be live with us. Zaka, if I could come to you, what do you see the likely impact of this resignation by Dharmendra Pradhan? All right, I'm not too sure if you could hear that question. The question for you, Zaka, I was just asking you, Dharmendra Pradhan quitting amidst protest, what do you see is going to be the likely impact of the same?
Well, look, I think obviously the impact is going to be huge. This is a huge victory, political victory, as far as the students are concerned, as far as the protesting opposition is concerned. I think it's hugely important. This is the first time, and I think it's important to put this in context. It's the first time in 12 years of the Modi government that a sitting minister has resigned because of sheer public pressure. And I think you have to, underscore this fact because, Mr. Pradhan's continuance as minister had become untenable the moment the Cockroach Jantar Party said, this is our single point demand. There were 3 demands that they had put out yesterday, compensation for the victims, FIRs to be removed against the students, so on and so forth. But the single sticking point between the CJP and the government was Mr. Pradhan's continuance. He had become a lightning rod. His continuance was the thing that was irritating the protesters. His continuance was the one that was, becoming a bit of a red flag, to use a Gen Z term, for the protesters. So there was no way he could continue as minister and expect that the protesting students would go away. Now, the interesting thing will be, as you see those pictures, Abhijit Dipke speaking from the stage, you can see others speaking from the stage as well. And I wish we can connect to one of our reporters who's there at Jantar Mantar. Will they now use this as a political victory to tell the protesting students that we have won, the students have won, they have forced down the exit of an important minister in Mr. Modi's government, the person from whom the political accountability should start, that person has now been forced to step down because of pure public pressure and nothing else. Will this now be used as a reason to say, okay, we have achieved our goal. Right. We had 3 goals. All 3 have been achieved. Let's now go back home. The government is most concerned about that because remember, Meenakshi, in the last few days, it was the students who were protesting. Today, we're hearing reports about crowds of, professionals, millennials, working class people who had all come there to join in solidarity with the protesting students. If the government allowed this to continue up until Monday when the parliament reconvenes, the government would not have been able to handle the sheer surge of crowds there. So something had to be done over the weekend, and this was the off-ramp. This was the exit that the students had always said, ask Mr. Pradhan to resign, and then we will call off our protests. So I think that is basically the window that's now been given to the protesting students. I really hope that they use this as an opportunity to try and tell all of those thousands of students who've gathered there at Jantar Mantar that, look, we have got the win that we needed. We have politically won. We've got a minister in the Modi cabinet to step down. He was the red flag. He was the lightning rod. He's now gone. Political accountability has been fixed at the highest level. Let's now claim this victory and go back home. I would, like I said, I would love to connect with one of our reporters there in Jantar Mantar and see and listen to what Abhijit Dipke and the other, student leaders are saying there. Remember, yes, they also have a meeting, I believe, with the central government representatives, Mr. Nadda and Mr. Jitendra Singh. We're not sure if that will go through. Again, it was supposed to happen at 3:30. Maybe it will. Maybe the government will announce to them officially that yes, Mr. Pradhan has resigned. So let's await that meeting as well. But I think for now, the protesting students have got the biggest win that they could have possibly asked for.
Well, yes, so we do have Kritika live, and she has been bringing us the voices from the ground. In fact, we heard Dipke as well, Zaka, and Dipke, while addressing, the protesters there, amidst the celebrations, he declared to the protesters that Pradhan had resigned. And I clearly remember the first line he used was that it's a big win for the students' movement. Aapne jhuka diya. That's what Dipke said. But does it mean the end of protest? Well, let's not jump the gun there. Let's wait and watch. But hopefully that should be the logical conclusion. I believe JB Mantar of Congress also with us. What will you say about the latest development coming in? Dharmendra Pradhan resigns. Rahul Gandhi had earlier said that termination and not any sort of reshuffle is what we need. Now that the resignation has happened, what will be the Congress party strategy?
This is a victory of democracy. This is a defining moment in India's history where all the voices have come together in one voice, the students, the youth, the opposition, the Congress party, the India bloc, Rahul Gandhi. It is a victory of all those voices who have come together and said to the mighty power that if you do not agree, then we are not going to step down. The only option in front of the government was to take the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan, and it has happened. And this is a big lesson for the government that biggest voice is the people, and that greatest voice is that of the people. They cannot come out with some videos in the middle of the night and try to evade responsibility. So this is indeed a very defining moment and indeed a victory moment. The first wicket of Modi government stands gone.
Well, absolutely. Congress saying that dialogue hopefully will happen. That is a statement, reactions coming in from almost all political parties. Again, Zaka, Madhav, Pragya all continue to be live with us. Madhav, if I could come to you as well. The likely impact, of the resignation, that's something which you had touched upon earlier. What do you think will be the political fallout of the same, considering that the opposition parties, all of them towing the same line, while they say the resignation has come a little late, but now they are ready for a debate in the parliament?
Yes, I'm just standing by for ground reports from Jantar Mantar. In fact, because the network isn't available over there, just would like to apologize for viewers. We're just quickly sending it from another location. Our reporters will be getting us those ground reports of the scenes coming out of Jantar Mantar. But, the thought within the government was very much this, that these are the protesters who are very publicly stating that they're going to go across the country, that they're going to protest on various other issues. And therefore, Dharmendra Pradhan...
चेतावनी है, एक लोगों का, एक इंसान का यहाँ पे इस्तीफा हुआ है. अगर आपने अपनी गंदी राजनीति नहीं छोड़ी, जवाबदेही और ट्रांसपेरेंसी में नहीं लाया, तो हम लोग किसी का रेजिग्नेशन नहीं छोड़ेंगे. तो बहुत बड़ी जीत है, संविधान जीता है, युवा जीते हैं, ये देश जीता है.
that we have been sensitive, especially as far as this very important demographic of youth is concerned. It is a key voter as far as BJP is concerned, and that's why it's very important for the BJP to be seen, placating them, ensuring that their grievances are heard at the highest level of governance, and there is some real change as far as government is concerned.
To hold on to that thought, we'll come back to you. We also played out a reaction of the CJP leaders in between. Zaka, if you could come in here, interesting reaction coming in. They are celebrating it, but also saying that this is not going to stop here. The government has to change course. Take us through, what do you make of it?
You can see Abhijit Dipke there. I think he's banging the earth. He realizes what a big deal this is. You heard Saurav Das a moment ago. I think we can play that out again. You can see those images there. Mr. Dipke, bowing down to the protesting students and then banging the earth. All right, we have Gitanjali Angmo joining us live, Sonam Wangchuk's wife. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Your first reaction, Dharmendra Pradhan, the education minister, has resigned.
Yes.
What is your reaction, ma'am?
Yes, so as I had said, there was extreme moral pressure that was created by this movement on the conscience of the minister as well as the prime minister. And this is the biggest pressure that we can have. The moral pressure, and the second time we have experienced that truth indeed prevails. Satyamev Jayate. Thank you.
What happens next? Will the protesting students now go back? This was their single point demand. This was what the deadlock was between the students and the government. Will they now go back? Will they claim victory and go back?
Maybe there will be, we will pause to regroup ourselves and to discuss the way forward. Thank you.
All right. Just one final word. How is Mr. Wangchuk? Will he be coming to Jantar Mantar now? This is as much his victory as that of the students.
I think we were all in it together, and depends on his health. But it's what is important is what has been achieved and what we need to go forward to reform the education system in this country.
What needs to be done to reform the education system in this country, according to you?
I had written I had written an editorial in the Hindu, which I can share it with you.
Would you want to weigh in on who the next education minister might be?
This is the people's movement, and the people will decide that. And I think I have said what I need to say at this point. I will get back to you later. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. That's Gitanjali Angmo. She's the wife of Mr. Sonam Wangchuk. She, of course, has also been a powerful force in backing the students and, of course, bringing forth their voice out to the mainstream in a way that it puts pressure on the political establishment. It was clear, I think it was clear over the last few days, particularly with Prime Minister Modi's direct intervention, speaking directly to the protesting students. He put out a first Instagram video a couple of nights ago and then one yesterday. I think the Prime Minister realized that, look, this cannot be taken as a normal protest. This is unlike anything that the Modi government has seen in the last 12 years. And this needed to be responded to. The students needed to understand that, look, they are being listened to at the highest level. But I think it came down to this one fundamental point. This was the lightning rod. This was the red flag. This was the one point that could, make or break the future continuance of these protests. The continuation of Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, that had become the single biggest and perhaps the only sticking point between the CJP, the protesting students, and the government. It was very clear after yesterday's meeting between the CJP representatives and the central government ministers that this was the single point demand that they had, that Mr. Pradhan has to go. I think after that, it became pretty obvious that Mr. Pradhan's continuation as education minister became untenable. Now it'll be interesting to see 2-3 things that I'm looking out for. Number one, what happens to Mr. Pradhan? Will he be accommodated in some other ministry in the government? Or as Rahul Gandhi said, we don't want him to be shunted out from one ministry to the next. He needs to be sacked, number one. Number two, what happens in Parliament on Monday? Will there be a discussion now on NEET and paper leaks and all the steps that the government has taken? And number three, and I think this was always the government's worry, will the students go home claiming this as a victory, or will they now ask for other ministers to resign as well? Shogata Roy is a TMC Member of Parliament. Mr. Roy, thank you very much, Professor, for speaking with us. Your first reaction, Dharmendra Pradhan, the Education Minister, has tendered his resignation to the Prime Minister. Do you reckon that this is the biggest win that the protesting students could have asked for, and they've got it now?
I'm very, very happy. And the victory of democratic forces and the student forces, which were agitating for the last 30 days on the streets of Delhi, this is a victory for them. The movement of the students was supported by all opposition parties. For the last 5 days, Parliament did not function. The basic demand was resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan. We spread to punishment for those who lathi-charged the students and compensation for those who had committed suicide on the NEET failure. Now the question will come up as to what reforms will be carried out, because today government in a hurry circulated a bill making it harsher for question leak.
Okay.
Involve people. But obviously this will all be insufficient. But what is great is that for the first time in 10, 12 years of BJP rule, we've seen that The government had to bow down to a movement by the Gen Z, and we spread from Delhi to all over the country. It's a big, big victory for democracy.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Roy. We'll see how this plays out, especially when Parliament reconvenes on Monday. But I also want to play out, my colleague Kritika Tiwari is at the Jantar Mantar protest of the CJP, and she's just filed this report from there. This is right after the news spread that Mr. Pradhan has resigned. It's a huge celebration there at Jantar Mantar. Listen in.
Just a few minutes ago, we were reporting on an instance of stone pelting and tear gassing that has taken place. But now the mood has completely changed. Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan resigned as of 2:18 p.m. That is when his post on X went live. He stated that what has happened in the last 10 days has made him extremely sad, and that the youth is the power of the country, and that is why he's tendering his resignation. Behind me are certain volunteers of the Cockroach Jantar Party who have been, in fact, making all the arrangements and ensuring that this protest takes place peacefully. You just saw what the mood is right now here in the heart of Delhi, and now we'll get you the voices. And now we'll be getting the voices from the volunteers as well. Have you heard of the resignation?
सुना कि मीडिया ने बताया कि 5 मिनट पहले उसने रिजाइन दे दिया, और ये सुन के हम मेरे साथ जितने भी भाई थे, बहनें थी, जो इतने समय से साथ में लड़ रहे थे, उनको इतनी खुशी हुई इस चीज सुन के कि फाइनली उसने रिजाइन दे दिया. बस मैं यही कहना चाहूंगा, भारत माता की जय, वंदे मातरम.
वंदे मातरम. मैम, आप क्या कहना चाहोगे? कितने दिनों से आप वॉलंटियर कर रहे थे?
मैं बहुत टाइम से, जब से ये प्रोटेस्ट स्टार्ट हुआ तब से मैं इधर थी.
एक महीने के पहले से आप
जी, और अपना ये बैनर लेकर भी मैं आई थी इनके लिए. जो लास्ट टाइम 20 तारीख को भी मैंने लाठी खाई थी, तो इसलिए ये बैनर भी लेकर आई थी. फाइनली जो हमारी मांग थी वो पूरी हुई, और हमें शिकायत कुछ नहीं है सरकार से. कांग्रेचुलेशन.
That is amazing. आप बताइए सर, अगर आप कुछ कहना चाहें, कितने टाइम से वॉलंटियर कर रहे थे इधर? उन्होंने बताया कि कैसे 20 को उनको भी लाठियां लगी थी.
20 को मैं भी यहाँ पे था, 20 को बच गया था मैं, लाठियां नहीं लगी थी, लेकिन मैं वॉलंटियर्स बना हुआ था, सबको शांतिपूर्वक के लिए ही बता रहा था कि शांतिपूर्वक आप लोग लगे रहें, और बस इसी में.
कितनी उम्मीद थी कि रेजिग्नेशन आएगा?
तो थी उम्मीद, 100% थी कि रिजाइन तो करेंगे वो, चाहे जैसे भी.
So 100% confidence that the resignation will be coming in. आप बताइए, कोई ऐसा पॉइंट था जैसे लगा था कि रेजिग्नेशन नहीं आएगा, ये मूवमेंट और चलता ही चला जाएगा?
हमें लगा था जैसे अभी हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर का उसने रात को इंटरव्यू भेजा था, उसको हमको समझ में नहीं आया कि उन्होंने कहना क्या चाहता.
आप उससे कनेक्ट नहीं कर पाए?
हम लोग को समझ में नहीं आता कि वो फाइनली उनका मोटिव क्या था, वो स्पीच देने का उनका रात को इतना. हम लोग लगा कि समथिंग उस टॉपिक्स होगा, बट कुछ समझ में नहीं आया. हम लोग लगा कि अभी ये हमारी जो संघर्ष है ये और लंबा चलेगी, बट फाइनली आज आप लोग के थ्रू हमें पता चला तो इतनी खुशी हुई कि हम लोग अब क्या ही बता सकते
हैं. क्या रहेगा नेक्स्ट स्टेप? आप लोग और रुकेंगे जंतर मंतर पे? आप फाइनली घर जाने का टाइम है, अपना रूटीन
का टाइम है, क्योंकि इतने दिनों से हम यही रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे थे कि आप हमें धर्मेंद्र प्रधान का इस्तीफा दे दीजिए, और अब हम चले जाएंगे अपने अपने घर.
So this is what she's also saying, that now that the resignation has come in, they look forward to resuming their daily routine, to going back to their lives, to their schools, colleges, to their workspaces as well. Remember, it's a Saturday. And since the morning, we've been reporting on how many people are in fact coming into Jantar Mantar. And this resignation is coming in as quite a happy surprise for all the people that we're speaking to here.
Kritika Tiwari there reporting from Jantar Mantar, one of the few reporters who is out there on ground zero and reporting what the celebratory mood there is. I want to get Pragya also into this conversation. Pragya, so this was the final straw. Mr. Pradhan's continuance had become untenable, especially after yesterday's talks between the CJP and the government. Do we know where he is? Has he reacted after tendering in his resignation? And do we know what happens next? Do we know who becomes the next education minister, or will they keep that post suspended for a few weeks and few months? What happens next?
Well, Zaka, there was too much pressure on Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, and we were seeing his body language also in past few weeks, especially in Parliament session. And there was no smile on his face. Obviously, he was under a lot of pressure, but he was also very disturbed and also very sad. But the fact is that the party has always been saying that, and also the cabinet colleagues for that matter, Zaka, they said that they stand with Dharmendra Pradhan. His contribution to education sector is is very important. And in fact, they have also, yesterday itself, a very senior colleague of Mr. Pradhan said that there's no way that we are not standing behind Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan. So the sentiment of being with Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan is there. They also said that, this is an education system that serves millions of people. And there going to be very many challenges. Also, there will be challenges. It is working. So all of that, Zaka, is also very part of the system as well. But having said that, it is yet to it is very very new to this particular government. As you rightly said, this is the first time that any minister has resigned in past 12 years under pressure. But this is pressure that has come from youngsters, and government did not want to getting spiraled out of their hands. And this is exactly the why this resignation that we have seen today. But having said that, it is yet to be known whether we will get soon an education minister and what time we are going to do that.
As in the DD on. All right. Also, we've got the latest tweet from the CJP. They put it up on Twitter. And Madhav, please weigh in on this. They had 3 demands. CJP's demand roster has been updated. Dharmendra Pradhan must resign. They put a tick on that. 1 crore to the families of all students who died by suicide. That is pending. And no action against any of the student protesters. That is also pending. And public apology from the RAF and the Delhi police. That's also pending.